Good afternoon. Today's discussion will be about inelastic demand, but first, a little background information. We want to start with this idea called ceteris paribus, which is a Latin expression meaning all things being equal. The reason that this is important in economics is because whatever it is that we choose to study is acted upon by many various factors. And to make it more scientific, for us to study independent and dependent variables and draw a correlation, we must hold other things equal. For instance, although price affects demand in the marketplace, the higher the price, the lower the demand, we have to assume that the consumer is going to act rationally. Which brings me to the law of demand. The law of demand is graphically depicted by a negatively sloped curve that runs from the top left of the graph to the bottom right. The vertical axis being representative of price, and the horizontal axis being representative of quantity demanded. The graph is negatively shaped because there is an inverse relationship between the product's price and the quantity demanded for that product. The higher the price, the less the quantity demanded. If we see here at a relatively low price, if we move along to the demand curve, we see that a fairly high amount of that product is being demanded. But if we move higher in price and we move to the demand curve, we'll see that the quantity demanded decreases significantly. It's important to note at this time that if extemporaneous factors such as panic buying due to the pandemic decreases or increases the demand for the product that we're studying, we have to shift the demand either to the right or the left. The right indicates a shift for increased demand, and the left indicates a shift for a decrease in demand, but the demand curve remains with the same slope. Moving on to the law of supply. Graphically represented is a line that has a positive slope, which extends from the bottom left of the graph up towards the top right of the graph, with the vertical axis representing price, the horizontal axis representing the quantity supply. The reason that there's a positive slope to the supply curve is because the correlation means that the higher the price a product fetches in the marketplace, the more enticed the company is to offer that product in a greater supply at the marketplace. Once again, as supply shifts, we actually shift to the right or left the supply curve, and we can account for extra factors that might, for instance, increase cost of a critical input in the manufacturing process. Will shift our supply curve to the left, indicating less supply is available in the market. Next, we're going to talk about the perfectly elastic or highly elastic demand curve. This is a graph with a line that has a slope of 0, causing it to be horizontal. And this means that the response of demand to a change in price is very sensitive. Examples of products with a near perfectly elastic demand are luxury items or products that use up most of the consumer's income, such as automobiles. Here, the meat and potatoes of our discussion today is the perfectly inelastic or highly inelastic demand curve. Its graphical representation is characterized by a slope of infinity, causing it to be vertical in shape. This means that the quantity demanded changes very little in response to a change in price. The reason is that products can have this kind of a demand curve is because they have relatively few substitutes in the market. The product might be addictive. There might be a prevailing need in society such that their tastes are not likely to change. For example, salt is a very highly inelastic item. If society's need for the product is likely to be static, for instance, real estate in an area that is in high demand, is very highly sought after, might have a static demand curve. Both aspirin and coffee are excellent examples of products that have an inelastic demand. Aspirin, because there are very few substitutes for aspirin in the market. One might think of acetaminophen, but it's actually an anti-inflammatory and not a pain blocker such as aspirin is. Also, coffee has a highly inelastic demand curve because of the taste and preferences of the consumer are uh, likely to not shift based upon price. People still enjoy the coffee in the morning. Okay. For consumers, the inelastic demand is more beneficial because the producer will pass along their savings and cost of production to the consumer. As they, the producer, is tempted to produce more and more, the supply curve will shift to the right. Therefore, the intersection or equilibrium price, the most allocatively efficient price, will also shift. The result will be a significantly lower cost to the consumer, and the quantity demanded will remain relatively unchanged. So if you notice here on this graph, I've superimposed supply and demand, and I've found the equilibrium price along the vertical axis, which is the price, and the horizontal axis, which is the quantity demanded. We'll see that if we were to shift supply to the right, we would intersect at a different location on the demand curve, and our corresponding price would be much lower. So this kind of graphical representation, what I just explained, proves that the market price will drop dramatically while the quantity demanded will change little. Although an innovative firm lowers its cost of production, overall sales revenue will not provide a significant change in profits. Companies will seek to innovate in any case because they're attempting to remain competitive with in the marketplace. Um, uh, Agricultural products, which tend to have a highly inelastic demand, such as depicted in this graph, would lead if they suffered if they correction if they were to enjoy a bumper crop and they would that led to a significantly greater quantity supplied, the price would drop in the market drastically, and agricultural producers would actually lose revenue. People would only buy. The reason the quantity, initial quantity, will change very little, although the price dropped drastically, is because people would only buy what they need to eat because food spoils. So also a decrease in the quantity produced due to weather, bad weather, for instance, would have the opposite effect for an agricultural product. The price would rise sharply, quantity demanded would remain the same, but revenue would come up. So I hope this explains inelastic demand and the importance of it in the economic marketplace. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.